any of those type of places, Los Angeles on the West Coast, obviously South Africa, major cities. I mean, it's contaminated.
Yeah.
There's so many toxic chemicals in the environment, and how do you avoid those? I mean, unless you're super anal retentive, and type A, it's very difficult. I've had people come on my podcast who are really high level docs about this, and they say 5%. If you're over the age of 40, the only way you can stay optimized naturally is if you are literally in the 5% of people that is like that capable of meal prepping, preparing all your foods, avoiding the chemicals, putting filtration systems in your house. You got to do all these things to avoid this. And so I always just tell people the biggest tool in the tool belt is therapeutic testosterone, right? So if you can get access to that and you know what you're doing, that's going to solve for or control for many, many, many other issues that you can't control for naturally.
Okay, so let's just sort of distill that a little bit. Obviously, functional medicine in my other life, I've done a lot of it, 12 years now, worked with the South African Society of Integrative Medicine. So there's a lot of doctors doing this. And obviously, you say you want to try and optimize naturally first. So let's talk about number one step. Someone's listening there, they go and see a functional medicine doctor or doctor of integrative medicine, trying to look at the natural ways first before, bioidentical testosterone. What would those natural sort of supplements or biohacks to help? I mean, obviously you've got things like DHEA, those are the precursors. You're talking about pregnenolone. If someone had to do it naturally and they didn't want to go the bioidentical way firstly, and maybe you can give us a level of free testosterone or total testosterone, how you look at those two factors, so that someone who's listening out there saying, listen, I don't want a precursor, I want to do it naturally, I actually need bioidentical testosterone right now.
Sure. So great questions. So first off, always look at the person's lifestyle, right? Like how much inflammation, what is their level of body fat, and then what is their sleep pattern like, right? So those three things, if you control first for, sleeping patterns, diet, and inflammatory factors, if you can control for those and reduce those, a good bit of people will not have to use therapeutic testosterone, right? Now, I mean, you're going to control for those things first. I'm a big proponent of metabolic flexibility in diets. I don't get into arguments about, keto versus intermittent fasting. I mean, I'm a huge intermittent fasting proponent. I mean, I've obviously written 2, best-selling books on it. And I'm looked at, as one of the experts when you talk about intermittent fasting. And I know all of the, biochemical cascades about autophagy and hormesis and, all the great functional things. But I don't really like to get into debates with people on what diet is better than other diets, because at the end of the day, I'm sure you can agree is that, remaining metabolically flexible is what's most important, right? Because I always say that you are going to fuel your movement patterning based on its unique energetic demand, right? So if you're a bodybuilder or a fitness athlete, you need muscle glycogen to be replenished on a regular basis so that you can obviously train at an intensity level enough to build muscle. If you're a ultra triathlete or an Ironman competitor, you can absolutely do a ketotic diet and run energetically off of ketosis, right? Your body fat, your stored body fat can maintain that, intermediate level of moderate intensity that you need for long distances, right? So I like to tell people remain metabolically flexible relative to your energetic demand. So if you're just a normal person who wants to look better naked, I tell people you should have some form of fasting a couple days a week, right? Whether that's 18 to 22 hours or you do a whole day of fasting, whatever, just get your body into those hormonal cleansing pathways of hormesis and autophagy, cellular fumigation. So, you can extend your life. So the other thing would be reduce body fat. Majority of people, men and women especially, I like to give rough approximations, but if you're over 20% as a man, you're going to have symptoms of low testosterone, especially if you're holding a lot of that fat in the, center mass, the center adiposity, right around the belly button, because the more visceral body fat right there, covering the internal organs, the more likely you are to be metabolically dysregulated, right? You're going to have insulin resistance. You're going to have a lot of inflammasomes coming out in that gut fat. And as what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, the triglyceride fat, the actual, stored fat in that area is the fat that covers the internal organs and is of course the fat that will lead to, ultimately to the diseases of aging.